So, not that I'm trying to get into the conversation of my mental health struggles with local business, but I'm going to try to talk about my mental health and why I actually struggle, you know? I know some people might try to use this against me. I know people might try to have something to say and etc. But I'm going to just kind of go forward and kind of explain things that I'm now understanding about my being and my struggles that I maybe have not would have understood probably weeks ago, and if it wasn't for reading information and paperwork, because my doctors haven't really even had to sit down and had a conversation with me about what my diagnosis is and etc. Because between doctor and doctor it keeps fucking changing. So um I will say for a while, for many years, people thought I had, and it may still be true. Thought I may have had, um, like some type of schizoaffective disorder, or some type of auditory disorder where it was unspecified. It was unspecified, auditory disorder because I had dealt with some trauma that basically broke my heart and my head at the same time, and it pretty much drove me over the edge. Um, because of a toxic relationship I did not let go of, and etc. But I was always thought of autistic at school. I was always thought about being autistic at school. I was always thought to be having trouble with like my schooling, and different things with my schooling, and reading and writing and different things like that growing up. I was always said that be having difficulty. Of course, this was in the '90s, and in the '90s, a lot of people didn't really know how to handle autism, and really didn't know how to really cope or really understand autism enough to really how to deal with it. So there were a lot of issues and things when it came to people with autism and stuff, and mental health challenges and stuff in the '90s, where a lot of things happened that were pretty much not okay. Like I had a 1-to-1 that basically, gave me a black and blue on my hand because I couldn't hear, and I got frustrated, and I was like, what is that? I was like, must have been like 10. And I was having trouble, and I was kind of acting out, and all of a sudden he kind of grabbed me by my hand, and this whole hand was like black and blue. But um, the past is the past, but still, I mean, there's things about the past that have happened that really could have probably could have been avoided if we were more evolved as human beings and understood, autism and psychology a lot sooner than how time had made it happen. But I'm thankful I learned better. I'm thankful we learned a lot now than we did, in the past, when it comes to like my whole situation. So supposedly people think I have a mental health disorder that's kind of like schizoaffective, but and that's why people are concerned, because people think I'm obviously, schizo or something when it comes to the arts, and they're trying to use it against me and stuff because, obviously I'm acting indifferent, or I feel some type of way, which is causing me to kind of change and, want to grow and evolve and change and grow and evolve, and, be in a different place, be in a better place for myself and a different place for myself. And unfortunately, certain people do not want to come with me, or certain people can't go with me because we have disagreements and etc. But obviously, people understood too that I also have a problem hearing. I also have a problem hearing with like speech and things too that make it very difficult for me to actually hear and process things. I want to process what people are saying and etc. Um, which I just found out about probably about a week or two ago. I found out about my auditory processing disorder, which is called APD. I always thought I had ADD, or ADD, which was high definition disorder or something like that. I always thought I had ADD, but I guess I have APD. I mean, I don't know if I have all of the above, or if I just have one or the other. I mean, obviously they're not talking to me about it, but I have a lot of questions for the doctor when this comes. When this comes out, I have a lot of questions for the doctor. Um, it's the fucking state for you, but. All right, so auditory processing disorder. Here's a little review about auditory processing disorder um, and the struggles of auditory processing disorder. Auditory processing disorder is also called APD. It's a type of hearing loss caused by something affecting the part of the brain that processes how you hear. Ear damages, other types of hearing loss. APD is also sometimes called the Central Auditory Processing Disorder, CAPD. It can happen to anyone, but most often it happens to children and older adults. Many conditions can affect how well a person understands what they hear, such as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, or autism. But these conditions are different from auditory processing disorder. Although they can appear with APD, APD can also happen with other types of hearing loss. Auditory processing disorder has no cure, but treatments can help you hear better. Symptoms of auditory processing disorder, APD, can be subtle symptoms that include having trouble with telling where the sound is coming from, understanding words that are spoken quickly in noisy rooms, paying attention, reading and spelling, following directions unless they are short and simple, learning a new language, singing and enjoying music, understanding and remembering spoken information. If you have APD, you also might take longer to reply to someone who's talking to you, often need others to repeat themselves, not to understand sarcasm or jokes. APD is often seen with attention, language, and learning issues, like others seen in attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. If you have trouble hearing and understanding what you hear, talk to a health professional. The auditory processing disorder, APD, is also sometimes unknown, but APD is linked to many conditions in older adults. Conditions include stroke, head trauma, and children. APD can be linked to issues such as birth, as low birth weight or early birth, or repeated ear infections. And in the typical hearing in the brain's auditory center, the sound waves sent to the ears and turns them into sound. But with the auditory processing disorder, the auditory part of the brain can't do this. Factors that increase the risk of auditory processing disorder: aging, stroke, head trauma, lead poisoning, seizure disorders, issues linked to birth, such as high birth weight, repeated ear infections, especially at a young age. Auditory processing disorder, APD, complications include having trouble understanding what people are saying, taking part in activities, feeling isolated and lonely, trouble reading and writing in children, trouble doing well in school, and feeling depressed. So yeah, it's not like autism, but it's kind of linked. It can be kind of linked with autism. So I have autism too. So I'm not sure if I also have my other mental health issues, but I mean I'm a full bag of struggle right now. Basically, I'm a full bag of struggle basically when it comes to being able to understand what I'm hearing and how I'm able to function and how I'm able to do things. I mean, obviously I'm a writer and stuff, and everybody says I need to work on my spelling and stuff, but that's just a part of my disorder. My part of my and that's also it's also the fucking keys on my fucking phone too, because my phone sometimes freezes in the middle while I'm trying to write my fucking my fucking sentences, and I sometimes skip words, which really fucking sucks. But between the fact I can't spell, between the fact that my fucking phone has glitches and it's a fucking technology that really fucking sucks, I can't spell for nothing. Don't get me wrong. I have to go through a lot of things just to get my poems to sound good, you know, and etc. As I am a writer, I am a writer now, and I am reading and I'm writing and stuff as a writer, and it's very important that I do so. I mean, you know, at least it's some part of my life that I'm trying to, you know, do so because it helps my growth and helps me evolve into a stronger and better person. But whether I'm doing it with a foundation or whether I'm not doing it with a foundation, whether I'm doing it by myself or whether I'm doing it at an open mic or not at an open mic, I still gotta write. I still gotta be able to, you know, express myself and, you know, speak my mind. So, but I mean, I have autism too. I have APD. I have autism. I have APD. I have autism. I have possibly schizoaffective. I don't even know. I don't even know if that could be thrown in there. I mean, obviously they say it's unspecified because they don't really know. They don't really know if it really, you know, if it really is that or if it's something else, which, you know, maybe it could be linked to my APD. Who knows? But apparently people want, but as I said before, people want to use stuff against me, you know. I had trouble. I had trouble working for Taquanas. Obviously, I couldn't really hear Taquana. There was obviously issues when it came to the job and me working for her. And obviously, she wanted me to man the store by myself, which was a big responsibility, which I didn't know if I could do. And all this other stuff, but obviously Taquana obviously was also shady. She was also doing, you know, sexual things on the side with other customers and other people and all these other shit that went down that I don't want to talk about. But people want to support her because in Torrington, because obviously there's such a push for Black Lives and cultural stuff and Black Lives Matter that you know, Black Lives Matter more than the fact that, you know, some people work for her and obviously had issues because she was a shitty boss. She can't be a shitty boss if Black Lives Matter, right? You know? But she was a piece of shit to me. And she didn't even pay me. She didn't pay me for no work or no nothing, you know? She paid me for no work or nothing. No work or nothing. She paid me for fucking nothing, you know? So I worked for a soul food restaurant that did not pay me a fucking thing for the work that I've done. You know, and I pretty much got fucking screwed, you know. But then again, I quit within a day because I didn't feel. I mean, I was about to take on a bunch of responsibility because she had a lot of turnover as it was when she first opened and stuff like that. She had a lot of responsibility and stuff that she wasn't able to really keep up with because she was on the side, you know, with her so-called other job. I don't know if she was making cakes or what she was doing, or if she was out, you know, obviously she's also making music videos and stuff too, shaking her ass and, you know, acting like a fucking tot, you know, or a fucking whore, but, you know, which she, you know, she basically is, but, you know, basically, you know, she was doing a lot of other things on the side, you know, and yeah, I get blamed for it because Black Lives Matter and I'm a white person and I need to be able to, you know, accept that she's a black person and she has, you know, she should have a lot more, I don't know what it is, besides, you know, over myself, which I don't really fucking even agree with anymore, you know. That's big middle finger to her. Big middle finger to her. You know, we're getting Black Lives Matter mixed in there, which makes it a really kind of a racial issue, which kind of makes it a hate crime because I don't think she really liked me too much. I think there was a lot of like upset feelings, and I don't think she likes me too much, you know. I think in some of her intentions, I think some of her, you know, her complaints and stuff, especially when she went to the bookstore next door to see the bookstore next door to see John Noki, you know, the magical John Noki, who everybody, you know, I keep complaining about to certain people because obviously that's, you know, one of the people other than her where the complaint came from when the cops got called on me because I was so upset because I had work issues and other issues where I wasn't getting paid and she was doing shit on the side and she was just being a real shitty boss, a real fucking shitty boss. You know, but, you know, God forbid I struggle. God forbid I can't hear her. God forbid I have issues, and God forbid, God forbid I have to struggle with my mental health, and I can't, she's just gonna ask me to man her store. I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, like, am I gonna be able to man your store? Am I gonna, you're gonna be mad at me when the store goes downhill after that point? But I tried my best. I tried my best to kind of cope with her and try to be her friend and try to be her friend. I wanted to be her friend first and foremost. I wanted to be her friend. I didn't really ever want to be like a full time employee. I wanted to be somebody. My mom said, "Why don't you help her out part time?" My mom's like, "Why don't you help Taquana out part time?" Right? And the whole thing about that is that I couldn't, Taquana wanted me there full time. Taquana thought I was taking a full time job. She was like under the impression that, oh, I want you here full time. This is what I need. This is what I need. Taquana got so fucking caught up in what she fucking needed that my needs and my situation and what I was trying to help her out with and agreed to help her out with basically went out the fucking window. She went out the fucking window. Plus, she's over there like spreading her pussy like a fucking tot and all kinds of fucking shit. Um, but yet she has a nerve before she leaves to say Carl had some mental health issues and stuff like that. So now the bookstore was under the impression that Carl had some mental health issues and stuff, when really it's probably just my auditory processing disorder. I was probably mentally fine, other than the fact that she was fucking toxic and I needed to get the fuck away from her. But, and she was a fucking tot, which I probably would have screwed that fucking tot anyways and probably just walked the fuck away too. But, regardless, it basically, it all comes down to the fact that my auditory processing disorder was very well, if I knew that even then, I probably would have been able to understand that better too about my situation. But I mean, I understand it now, and obviously it's making a lot of sense. That I had a hard time hearing Taquana. I had a hard time working on processing what she was saying and stuff like that. But then again, I understood some of what she was saying, and I was trying to explain to her where I was coming from, and some of where I was coming from was being taken advantage of and taken advantage for what she needed because she thought she was going to get things to be done her way. I don't know. I mean, I'm dead serious, too. I probably would have screwed her. I didn't screw her, but I probably would have screwed her, and I probably would have left her at that point, Either way, I had to leave the bitch, because the bitch was fucking toxic, but I probably would have screwed her. Just like, just probably like all the other guys that she was probably sleeping around with, I probably would have, but never did. And I obviously didn't feel comfortable doing anything like that in her store either, but then again, who knows what the hell was going on in her store and all this other shit, that happened, her kids were upstairs playing on a mattress, but the mattress looked so fucking cruddy that I'm wondering if she was even up there inviting guys up there to have, like threesomes or something up in the upper area to have sex and stuff after hours and shit. So I don't even fucking know. I'm just at that point where I'm just like I'm cringing just thinking about it because that mattress she had was so fucking cruddy. It was so fucking cruddy and disgusting. I don't know if it was her kids on that or. I don't know. I think of her as a little unsanitary, basically. Like she can give two s's of a fuck. But regardless, I have autism. I struggle with APD, which makes my functioning of reading, writing, and processing things and processing directions very hard. Which makes sense about me working for Taquanas and stuff like that. I was actually mentally fine, other than the fact that she was a little toxic, or at least part of me kind of wanted to care for her in a way that obviously at my heart was really taken advantage of because part of me did want to care for Taquana. I'm not even gonna lie, but she was a fucking hoe. She was a fucking hoe, and she's a fucking hoe. So, but basically I wanted to care for Taquana, and I didn't really mean for this whole video to go off in a big blow up, but it kind of just dawned on me that I understood myself a lot better when I learned I have APD, I have autism, and I have other, issues where I have a hard time processing orders, directions and things, when it comes to working a job and etc., But then again, she didn't want to do the paperwork either. I mean, my workers were like, like my workers probably had questions for her about paperwork and stuff, and she was never there when the workers were in and stuff. So they probably had issues getting paperwork from her too, and they had to report her to Social Security because obviously they weren't getting paperwork that they needed, or or financial information that they needed to help me with my entitlements. So basically, they probably had to report her to Social Security and shut the fucking store down. Is it my fucking fault that she was irresponsible? No. Originally too, she wanted to say, "Oh, I wanted to pay you under the table. I wanted to pay you on the side and pay you under the table." She never paid me fucking shit. And she basically just used me for shit. So she was a very toxic employer, and it was very piss poor of her too. Granted, now she's shaking her ass in music videos and shit, and I'm wondering how she's paying for that shit. Wonder how she pays to get her music videos shot and shit, and all the money she has to put in for that. I mean, she should be using it to pay her employees. She should be using it to pay her employees and giving checks to her employees that she had working for her store in Torrington. But she never, well, granted, I don't know, if some of my other coworkers at the time got paid, but I didn't get paid. I got fucking screwed, And yet she's gonna blame me for how her store went down, but she had a lot of turnover and shit from the beginning and stuff like that. And not only that, basically, she was still open for months after I left. The goddamn store. She was still open, and she still should have been able to figure out how to keep her store afloat. I mean, obviously, I'm only one person. She obviously can one day find one other person to replace me, no problem. But yet she closes her store and she decides she doesn't want to be a business. But then again, she didn't like Torrington. Because obviously there are people in Torrington that she wouldn't be able to find to be able to get her off, or to do what she wanted, to do what they wanted her to that she wanted them to do, and and get her off and shit like that. But she was a very she wanted to be professional, but she's also a very nasty and provocative lady. She's very sexually driven. I mean, you can see that in her music videos where she's like doing things with lollipops and stuff. You can definitely see that she's very promiscuously, driven, as a woman. But I think in some cases she was trying to use that sexual prowess against me to work for her and trying to vote me in for working for her, but it never really turned into anything really overly sexual, because once she realized I can volunteer for her, she can get what she wanted from me voluntarily. She basically got it and stuff like that, and it was basically done at that point. But the only thing that really happened with the bookstore is the bookstore and I had, business issues over me buying books from him, or me donating books from him, because I donated books to the bookstore, and he took 2 books out of what I donated and told me to take the rest of the books home that I was going to donate to the store. Like, though he was only going to take the books that were going to be worth money and stuff, and I didn't like his business practices, especially handling me on a one-on-one sense, where he can say anything can happen, anything could happen because nobody else was there, so he can say this and say that, but in a one-on-one sense, he was being kind of a prick, So, I mean, because he really didn't care for me as much as some of the other people supposedly did, but I mean, a lot of the other people got deleted now or removed from my Facebook because I'm just not going to deal with certain shit when it comes to my mental health and being called out to be crazy. Yes, I struggle with my mental health, but I've been balanced for a very long time. And some of that had to do with the arts and etc. I mean, obviously losing some of the arts now is a really big problem to some of my mental health balance. I won't lie. Not that I'm saying I'm not balanced, but it's kind of a problem because, I mean, obviously there were certain things that I was doing that was still really helping the fact of that I could evolve and grow, especially with my mental health, and that's just not into play right now, which really fucking sucks when it comes to the arts. Everybody wants to fucking join John Noki, I would like to get them all together. And then I'm not even going to say it. I'm not even going to say what I want to say, because I don't need to incriminate myself. But yeah, Anyways, they're but basically everybody has a business, everybody has an artistic thing, and some businesses choose other people over your over you. I mean, the other thing too about the Arts Council, which the Arts Council was obviously a supporter of John Noki. I mean, they've supported John Noki, and they've been to the store where they've supported John Noki, which is an actual used bookstore in town. I mean, he was a gallery owner. I mean, I supported him for a 5 years, 6 years before the pandemic. Then he upgraded and moved into the old shoe store building that was in Torrington, and he upgraded to now have like a whole like bunch of floors and a whole bunch of areas where he basically shares like his performances and stuff. I mean, he says something about like, he supposedly said something to my my ex CEO about fire marshal shit and stuff like that. But I don't know. I mean, I'm at the point now where I don't even really give a shit. I don't even really give a shit, because obviously John Noki is a culprit, and so is Taquanas, and this may have very well been what Taquana wanted. This may very well been what Taquana wanted to do, really kind of disrupt my art and my career and try to make it where I have issues. But then again, I was also serious about what I said in the text messages too. This could also be the state. The state might not be happy for other paperwork reasons and other things and other reasons and things, because the state has to put me in certain limitations and things, and then the state thinks I'm getting too big and etc. Especially being an artist and a published author and stuff. They think I was probably getting too big and etc. and too big and etc. and too powerful to be stepping in my power the way I was doing. That they couldn't control me, or they couldn't do what they have to do. So now they're trying to put me down to size by trying to destroy the arts and try to humble me and shit like that, because they want control. They want me to be humble, and they want to have control over me, or to be able to control me in a way that's systematic, because they can't really do so at me as me having friends that are obviously getting jobs for their mental health agency and etc. I mean, obviously there's issues with the program too, because they have hired some of the artists and some of the people that I knew of and etc. from Hartford and etc. There's agencies for mental health that actually have hired them as staff and etc. So there's an issue right now of professionalism and stuff about them being staff and me being a client and all this other shit that's basically going down that's not okay. But then again, as I was saying about the Arts Council, the lady who runs the Arts Council, she was a big supporter of John Noki too, and her friend, as I said before, who was that young black woman that AKS Editions or whatever the fuck she calls herself now. It used to be Anaya Ketchifier, and now it's like AKS Editions or whatever the fuck she wants to call herself. Is trying to run a business, and now she got an LLC or whatever it's called, and because now she has an LLC and I don't get to be considered very valuable, because I don't make much money, and because of my circumstances I don't make much money, and I don't make enough to really be able to evolve and grow the way I should be. So I look at fault for that, because obviously I don't have an LCC, or I don't have the money to really always do certain things, and people are looking at me like, oh, you're not really a business, or you're not able to really financially support yourself, so you're basically getting fucking screwed. I mean, some of the support you need too is from your friends and some of your other fellow artists. And the problem is, I've been giving too much to other artists. I've been giving too much to other artists and supporting other artists and stuff too. As I am still disabled, and I still obviously have I still have a disability, and some of my income still comes from being on a disability, but I still kind of sacrifice some of my free will spending on that disability to give back to other artists, hoping they'll give back to me. And really, none of them really half of them don't even give back to me. Half of them don't even give back to me, or don't even give a shit about me. I've supported them, and I put all this money into them. I've supported all this money into John Noki. I've supported a lot of people. I'm even sorry that I even borrowed from some people. There was times I had to borrow from some of my neighbors and stuff, and I had to just go to a show at John Noki's and just try to make ends meet to go to a show and do what I got to do to really kind of, I've kind of had to borrow and pay people back. which I did pay people back, but I had to kind of borrow to be able to make that happen, and I kind of just wasted my fucking time. I was putting all this effort into, supporting others before I really supported myself, or really getting no support back for myself. That it really fucking absolutely fucking sucks. It absolutely fucking sucks. But Taquana has a lot of nerve. Taquana has a lot of nerve, and I mean a lot of nerve. Then she was stealing ideas too, because I was an artist and I was doing things, and she wanted to do some of the things that were going on in Torrington and stuff. So she would have open mic nights, or she would do this or that to try to make her business look good. But she was stealing the ideas from things I would say, like open mic nights I would go to, and etc., to try to get more people involved. But whatever. I do struggle with my mental health. I mean, I am pretty much sane, except for when people bring up my mental health, especially after a very triggering situation like the cops being called and affecting the arts, which I try to keep the arts and my recovery separate. I mean, besides writing about my mental health, and kind of keeping my mental health situations kind of in my art a little bit. I kind of consider that just my art, mental health stuff turned into art. But I don't really put my mental health issues in my art in the same category. I try to keep them separately, but somebody decided that they were going to flip the bag and try to say, now that they know that he struggles with his mental health and they feel like he's acting indifferently, we're going to call the cops on him. We're going to have the cops come to his door because we're concerned about his mental health. We're concerned about his well-being, Basically, but basically, I'm all right. I'm pretty much fine. I'm annoyed though. I'm annoyed because obviously there's some shady shit went down, especially after Taquanas and shit, and it's obviously has affected my artwork. It's affected the people I work with and etc. I mean, obviously, it could very well be the state. The state might think I'm getting too big. The state might think I'm getting too powerful, and I'm in a position. I mean, I was in a position where I was doing my own thing in the arts and stuff. I had friends. I had people out in the community. I was doing things. I evolved so much that they put me in a very independent program to be able to be independent, because I'm able to get myself from point A to point B and stuff like that. But now everything just seems like it's crumbling and stuff, and it's like some of the independent things I was doing are no longer active or functional. I don't know, but part of me actually does. I mean, part of me actually does have. I do have applications. My mom wanted me to consider moving to Waterbury. I'm gonna have my worker. I'm still gonna have my mental health worker fill out those applications. I mean, if he doesn't start cooperating, we're gonna have a problem, because that's how frustrated I am with shit. I mean, if he doesn't start cooperating a little bit better, we're gonna have a problem. Because I've been telling him probably since last month or etc. But I think he had groups and stuff. Then he got basically went on vacation. But I've been telling him for a while that I need those applications filled out. I need those applications filled out to Waterbury Housing, and we need to get him in there. And I'm trying to get him to really realize that, but he's not. I don't know, but no, seriously, I'm seriously considering moving from Torrington to Waterbury. I mean, I think maybe a location change at this point wouldn't be a bad idea. I mean, there's obviously things in this location that are good. I mean, I still live around the corner from a Stop and Shop. I can just walk to a Stop and Shop if I need to. There's a plaza down the road, but I mean, obviously there might be things you can walk to still in Waterbury too. I mean, would I recommend it? Maybe not. Because obviously I hear Waterbury has some bad parts and stuff too, and Waterbury's not always that pleasant to really have to walk around it and stuff too. But when it comes to shit, I mean, obviously I'm at that point, it's frustrating. It's very frustrating, And whoever fucking called the cops on me is so silent in this, and they're watching me destroy everything. They're watching me. They're watching everything get destroyed. They're watching these disagreements happen between my publishers and all these other people. We're having all these disagreements, and they're watching these disagreements happen. They're watching, and it's proven something. It's also proven something to me about who was actually really in my corner and etc. Because people have said it to me too, that we can't fully 100% be in your corner on this, Carl. We can't fully 100% be in your corner. So basically, it just shows me that obviously I might be on my own on this one, and it's very, I'm not going to say it's not going to court. I mean, apparently, there's been talks already about it possibly having to go to court. I mean, if it gets bad enough, I'm talking to my mental health workers about getting a fucking lawyer. Because I'm going to need a fucking lawyer, because this has pretty much ruined my whole entire life and everything I had going for me. Everything possibly good and everything possibly well to my mental health and well-being, it's basically being destroyed. So whoever the fuck did this, I probably needed a lawyer for Daquanas anyways, because she didn't pay me, and there was obviously some job practices and shit there that obviously were very kind of, wrong and stuff, where I probably should have maybe, got a lawyer against Daquana because she didn't pay me and shit, but, obviously this is beyond not okay. This is beyond not okay. This is beyond not good. But man, but this whole video was basically about me having APD, which is a auditory processing disorder. I may have schizoaffective. Some people say it's unspecified. They don't really know what's causing it. They don't really know the situations behind it. Could maybe be a form of APD, because I've had head trauma, basically. I've had head trauma, basically. When my heart broke, my head broke. It was a long story. It's true, too. When they say your heart breaks, your head breaks, that's true. It happens to me. It happened to me, and it's very well true. And people are toxic. People can be so toxic to you that you can lose your mind. And no, it's not just a Family Guy thing. It's not just a Family Guy thing. I know Stewie, there was an episode where Stewie had a girlfriend and Stewie went to the fucking psych ward because a woman was so toxic, but no, that actually is true. It can actually happen. It's happened to me. People can be as addictive and as toxic, as a motherfucker. Believe me. That's why I just sometimes gotta put my own goddamn self first and not give a fuck, And then I have autism. So I don't have Asperger's, but I have a light form of autism. I have a lighter form of autism. I'm on the spectrum. I'm on the spectrum of autism. I don't have Asperger's, which is like more of a heavier autism, which I know Bob Dylan has Asperger's, which is a heavier autism to deal with. But sorry, I'm a little flustered, but getting kind of angry like that. But but basically, I am on the spectrum of being autistic. I may have some trauma wounds with the head and mentally snapping from not sleeping. Obviously, I wasn't sleeping. I was walking the streets. There was a lot of things that happened, In some cases, it's because the state should have been more responsible, and they weren't going to be more responsible, and they left me on my own, and then I was having mental health issues at one point, and then I actually fucking psychotically snapped. So the state really doesn't fucking care. They'll probably leave me on my own until I fucking snap. But I'm perfectly fine now. If there is an issue, I'll bring it up to them. There's obviously issues. There's obviously issues that stem from the arts that play into a big effect of my diagnosis of my mental health. That play into a big effect of that. So, but I don't know. People just sometimes need to go fuck themselves, and I need to fucking move on. But that's just all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say at this point. Obviously, there might not be moving forward. There might not be moving forward with any of the publishers. There might not be moving forward for, I hope there's not moving forward for any of the fucking people that are staff members. Any people that they're trying to make staff, the mental health people are trying to make staff members. Because at this point, nobody should really be going forward, because all it's going to be is a big fucking trigger to me. It might be a fucking trigger to me, because that, the triggering effect came when somebody had called the cops. The triggering effect came when somebody had called the cops and said, "Oh, he's basically nuts. He's basically nuts, or he's basically, he basically doesn't seem right." That's triggering. After having such a severe mental health history of cops and hospitalizations and shit, that what was like my early childhood because of, my APD and other things that people, may have not have been aware of up until now, very fucking triggering. Very fucking triggering. I don't deal with. I mean, I'll support the police. I'll support the police in their jobs, but I mean, when it comes to like my situation and having to deal with a mental health problem and how they have to handle a mental health problem, I'm not 100% happy with having to go through that or having to deal with the police in such a manner. The fucked up thing too is that one of the people I just defriended too. She was a local business person who did Kelly's Crystals, which was one of the local businesses I supported in town. Which I'm gonna have to get my painting back from them because they had a painting that I had, but they had a painting that I had on display. But I basically one of her brother or somebody in her family is actually a cop. Her brother or somebody in her family is actually a cop. So that's how fucking shady that goes. They can complain all they want to, and then the cops get informed. I mean, it goes right into her family, which I thought was kind of like fucked up. But I mean, again, it could also be the state, and my whole life is getting ruined because somebody wants to trigger it to the point that everything's gonna fall apart, and the state could be behind it. Basically, I was told when I asked about who actually said it. They said that they don't know. They just said that I was online one day talking about Taquanas in the bookstore and being very frustrated and stuff. So they said they don't know who actually called it in, which they said no, they don't need to know who called it in. They just think it needed to be called in, and the cops possibly needed to come to the door, and thankfully nobody knew what the hell was going on, so nobody came. But now it's like the whole story is kind of dragged on so much that now it's like who knows if it's going to be turned into a cops at my door or issues just walking downtown past a local business or something. God forbid. But the downtown Torrington's no longer. Some parts of downtown Torrington are no longer like safe for me. And I've already considered. I mean, I've already considered it too. Is that that if I have to get my artwork back from Kelly's Crystals, I might just have my I might just have one of my mental health workers go into Kelly's Crystals and get the artwork. I might just have them do it because I just want to cut ties. I mean, I have a receipt right here too, because you know how much money I've actually spent at Kelly's Crystals. Because one, I like some of the merchandise she had. Plus, she was a friend of a friend, and she was also kind of a friend of mine. But here's a receipt right here where it said I spent $51.51 in her store. I spent $51 at one day in her store just on stuff alone. I know there was a time too where I get extra money in November and stuff like that. I get extra money in November and stuff like that, and I had spent almost $170 on stuff in her store. So I would just on the extra money I got alone. So I mean, for them to fucking betray me, and for them to for me to support them as much as I did and put as much money and time and effort into their businesses and the projects and stuff, I feel very I feel like I don't want to support anybody, and it does. Look, you can see what it says. 51 right there. See? So, But I won't. I won't even bother. I won't even bother for the local businesses. I won't even bother for any fucking artist in Torrington. If it doesn't really give back to me, I'm not going to support it, I mean, obviously, I defriended Kelly's Crystals too, because she's also one of her close friends is the head of the Northwest Arts Council. And the Northwest Arts Council right now is one of the people screwing me over. So, I don't need to support them. I'm gonna actually try to find a way to ask for my artwork back, and I'm just gonna leave it alone. I won't support them at all. I won't buy another thing from them. If I want tarot cards, if I want something, I'll just have to order it online. I have free access to Amazon. Well, not free access, but I do kind of in a way have free access to Amazon. Amazon's not necessarily free, but I have the access to Amazon where I can just open my computer and go on Amazon and order something if I want to. I don't have to waste another single dime on local business. But Anyways, I'm fucking angry. I'm fucking upset. But this whole video is supposed to explain my mental health conditions. I mean, hopefully somebody doesn't use it against me, or somebody calls the cops with a tall tale saying he's acting this way or that way, because that's just going to be a fucking mess, and nobody wants the time for that drama and bullshit to really go down and piss you the fuck off. But sometimes somebody wants to piss me the fuck off. Somebody wants to drag it so fucking heavily now that it's not fucking funny, that it's not fucking funny, So, but I am a writer. I am a writer. I am an artist. I mean, there's one publisher I might still be working with. I don't even know. Ironically, one publisher I had to walk away from was supposed to come out with a book in September. In September and November, they were supposed to come out with another book, was supposed to have one of my poems in it. The National Beat Poetry Foundation was supposed to come out with a book with one of my poems in it. This other publisher, Local Gems Press, which I think I'm hopefully still gonna be working with, and maybe not, but they published like two of, I had two projects through them with two of my poems published, and I'm waiting for them to send me in the mail. So I don't know if I'm getting the books or not. I might have to start, like requesting refunds or getting a lawyer at this point, for even taking part in the projects and being screwed, but, anyways, I'm pretty sure the National Beat Poetry Foundation, if I am in this last book, and my name's not just taken out of it or something, if I am in this last book, then, this may be my last project with the National Beat Poetry Foundation for a while, or forever. Who knows? Who the fuck knows at this point, But, I'm at the point where I'm just trying to breathe and do what I have to do to breathe and do, stay sane and not have to deal with the bull crap, But that's a little bit about me and my illnesses. I mean, I do struggle. I do struggle with autism, I have a mild form of autism, but I also have APD, which makes things worse, makes things absolutely worse. But a lot of the history behind APD, a lot of that happened to me. My trouble reading and writing in school, feeling isolated and lonely, but a bunch of it, really kind of rings very true to have an APD. But I don't know, but that's a little about my behind my illnesses and behind why I struggle with my mental health. Didn't really want to go on a whole rant about Tijuana's, but I guess that happened, and it kind of helped me vent a little bit about my frustrations. So if this video kind of helps, I'm not like gonna stay here and say I'm actually mad enough for a crisis to be called, but I still gotta voice my opinion in anger, because obviously some shady shit went down. And if people are going to be shady and shit in my face, then there's obviously a problem. The other problem too, when it comes to being me and being a very nice guy and being a very sweetheart and a very nice guy to people, is I'm usually a very sweet guy and a very good sweetheart to people, except for when I get pissed off. There's two versions of me being pissed off. There's the version where I get pissed off and I get psychotic, and there's a version where I get pissed off and I have reasons to be pissed off. But unfortunately, the lines blur between the psychotic version and the point that I get pissed off, because usually they can blur so easily, because I get so pissed off and angry because nobody ever sees me really angry or pissed off that they think I'm having a mental health crisis. When really I just choose to show anger at that point and have that blow up of anger because the shit has hit the fan and I'm just angry, But sometimes people try to throw it in there that it's a mental health crisis. And usually if you're angry and stuff and people think you're aggressive or something, that's when they like to do the whole thing when they try to send you to the emergency room and this and that. And nobody needs to go through that hell. I was doing well in the first place, and I still want to try to do well, but somebody's trying to sabotage something, whether it be the state, whether it be Tijuana's, whether it be John Noki. Somebody knows something, and somebody is trying to sabotage. And truthfully, if it happened to be John Noki, then, and a lot of people are standing behind him, then it's not going to look good for other people either. So